You know, I've always wanted to do a Yokai Watch Nuzlocke. You've heard of a Nuzlocke by now, right? It's a fairly common challenge run in Pokemon games, where if a Pokemon faints, it dies and can no longer be used, and you can only get a certain amount of soldiers for your army. A Yokai Watch version of this isn't very different, but there are some slightly different rules. For one, if a yokai drops to 0 HP, they die for real this time, and can no longer be used. I can befriend a yokai once for every area unlocked. Each coin color can be used in the Crankakai a single time, regardless of whether I get a yokai from it or not. If the team is wiped, the run is dead, and I have to nickname every yokai. And that's it. Yokai Watch doesn't have something like set versus switch mode, and while I could ban items, no. Also, you may have noticed that all the dialogue is in Japanese. Since this game encapsulated much of my childhood, I have basically memorized every step, and Yokai Watch even has a nice red arrow directing you where you need to go, so this won't have much impact on the gameplay. With that, I name my character Geo, and the run begins. Part 1 of this Yokai Watch Nuzlocke, we start the run with our friends peer pressuring us into kidnapping helpless bugs from their homes, and we immediately fall for their ploy. The park only has weak yellow cicadas, so we head to the mountains in an attempt to find something more powerful. We find a few brown cicadas, but that still doesn't quench our thirst for the army we want. No, we need more. Luckily, a strange vending machine in the middle of the woods offers us some advice, for the low price of 100 yen. Since I'm too lazy to do the conversion rates here, I'm going to assume that it is roughly equal to 100 US dollars. And for such a price, it couldn't possibly be a scam. Indeed, we find a ghost who gives us a nice watch, a yokai watch. Using this, we are able to turn one of our silly yellow cicadas into a ghost cicada, earning his undying loyalty. Newly named Beep helps us beat up a nearby bird ghost, and we force him to join our army as well. With Beep and Pigeon at our side, the world is ours to conquer. Part 2 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke has us heading home, where we find that a ghost has already claimed our house as her territory. But if we are to become the new overlords of this town, we can't have some homeless lady living in our own base of operations. We set out across the town, collecting soldiers as we go. We get Inception from the main town, watch Pigeon die in an alleyway, get Kai the ninja from that same alleyway, then head down. It's worth noting that Pigeon's corpse will have to remain on our team until we get another yokai to replace him, but he won't do much here. We recruit our next team member in the sewers, bringing Snot onto the team and triggering the mandatory scene that summons Jibanyan into the world. The game really wants us to recruit this mascot, and he will be our strongest member in the early game. After watching him 1v1 a car, we learn his tragic backstory and decide that he would be a great captain for our team. We head into a nearby alley, a different one from last time, and get Buzzswole to replace Pigeon. Our army can then beat up a few goblins with more hair than brains, claiming Jibanyan's picture and using it as a bribe for him to join our squad. The police try to recruit us on our way back, but we ignore them. We have a fortress to reclaim. The fight isn't much of a challenge at all, though it's a nice way to see the difference between Pokemon and Yokai Watch combat. In Yokai Watch, it's a lot quicker paced, and you don't often get time to think about what you want to do or calculate damage. You simply have to try to keep pace with the battle, moving team members in and out as the battle progresses. That's really what a lot of Yokai Watch is about, timing everything just right. With Nuzlocke rules, it simply becomes a lot more punishing if you mess up. After beating the hobo, she joins our team. Slime is only our first of many, though. If we want to take on all of Springdale, we have a long journey ahead of us. Part 3 of this Yokai Watch Nuzlocke begins with us trying to impress our neighbor Katie. After all, what's the point in becoming king of the ghosts if it doesn't help you get the girl? Unfortunately, Katie blows us off because her conscience is bothering her. Whisper informs us that a yokai might be to blame, so we head out to expand our army. But first, quests. These are my favorite part of the game, and though the Japanese text makes it a little bit less enjoyable to befriend our fellow classmates and townfolk, it's still a great way of getting EXP, so you'll see me do a lot of these quests through this run. After talking to the ghost of an old lady, we gain old into our army. We then use her powers to help our girl make up with her friend. Unfortunately, that takes the rest of the day, meaning we have to go back home and rest. While that's happening, Whisper discovers that a cult is trying to take over this town, my town. If I want to be the ultimate ghost overlord here, then I'll need to deal with this. We begin hunting down the ghost culprits, taking them down one by one. While doing this, Buzzswole is murdered by a large bird, an inconvenience that lets us add a healer to our team. With an old lady now part of our strike force, we press forwards. This leads us to Slymander, the general of the cultist invasion. The fight has some close calls, but with the power of food, we defeat the monster without a single casualty. We also get a glimpse of Venoct, a yokai whose edginess level is balanced out by his cool scarf. With the battle won, we have time to wonder just who sent this advanced force into our town. In part 4 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke, we begin preparing for war. We may not know what is coming, but we do know that it isn't going to be good. Luckily, we also unlock Blossom Heights, where we recruit Snorlax in the mansion while looking for a specific item, as well as Baku, a story recruit. One of them is going to be a core member of our team, while Snorlax will never be seen on this game file again. After that, we head to the watch shop, where Mr. Goodsides offers to upgrade our Yokai Watch, but only if we can return his pair of lucky undies that were stolen by a pigman. If you haven't played Yokai Watch, you may assume that's hyperbole, but no. This game's story is glorious, and it deserves to be released in the West, again. After discovering that our new friend Baku lets us cure insomnia forever, we discover one of the most terrifying things in the entire run. Terror Time has a massive Oni known as Gargaros trying to sniff us out, while we try and stealth our way through the area. Though with proper preparations and game-breaking mechanics, you could beat Gargaros here. In any vanilla run, he could easily wipe our entire team, ending the run here and now. Luckily, I've played a lot of this game, and I know how far I can push my luck. After snagging some loot that's barely worth the time it took to walk to it, I get within range of the escape point and make a break for it. A potential run ender has been avoided, but we aren't out of the woods just yet. Sprank is no joke if you weren't careful, and his boss fight is not only a lot of fun, but also feels like a fever dream. We carefully swap in and out our yokai, healing them with candy whenever possible. It takes some time and we have a few close calls, but in the end, we clear another boss without losing anyone. While I can't complain about this, I must admit that it feels strange to have lost 2 yokai to random encounters, but still have a 0 death ratio against boss yokai. Part 5 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke housing us meeting up with our friend Bear, who has lost his mother's wedding ring. Since we are an insecure 10-year-old who wants nothing more than to get our only 3 friends as validation, we immediately forget all about the incoming invasion to help him out. We find Walkappa, a yokai who is willing to dedicate his life to our cause for the price of 3 fish. Anyway, with the help of the Kappa, and after doing a ton of side quests, we head to Mount Wildwood, where the ring was lost. Walkappa finds the ring without too much trouble, but his showing off attracts the wrath of a sentient boat who lives in a small lake in the middle of nowhere. This boss can summon fish, and the green ones are extremely annoying as they can heal up the boss. The battle is long and arduous, and we lose Kappa to the boat. However, in the end, the battle is won. Our dominion has extended to the mountains, but at the cost of our newest friend. Rest in peace, Cap. I hope the fish were worth it. Part 6 of this Yokai Watch Nuzlocke begins with an invasion of amnesia hats entering Springdale, an event that is never explained in-game and resolves itself only a moment after completing this quest. But before we start our quest to save our father from the Hat Swarm, we befriend a Pandal who we name Swole in the Blossom Heights garden area, who will become a mainstay of this team for a long while. It's here that I also realize I won't be able to perform any fusions since I haven't managed to befriend a Mochismo in any available areas. Despite this troubling knowledge, I push ahead, accepting our quest from Mr. Goodsights and upgrading our watch again. The hunting of these yokai is fairly simple, and with proper precautions, none of our soldiers are permanently harmed. The hat invasion is also quite easy, as you simply have to run around the town in a fairly obvious route. After delivering the MacGuffin to our dad, we track down one of the flying hats and forcefully recruit him into our army. However, a combination of his low rank and power means that UFO will never see combat in this run. This quest also rewards us with a bicycle, which is heavily nerfed in this version of Yokai Watch, since running already has no stamina. But now, with a vehicle of war fueling our battles, we are one step closer to reclaiming Springdale and becoming its supreme ghost overlord. Part 7 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke has us looking for a magical fox. Though I don't remember the story reasons for this, it has something to do with our science teacher giving us some super summer homework. Anyway, we do some investigating around town, and ultimately end up at the local construction site in the middle of the night. This is where we find Komasan, my favorite yokai of all time, who I appropriately name Best Boy. He joins us on our journey of hunting down a firefox, and we head up the construction site slowly, and have several instances of feeling like we are being watched. Of course, that doesn't stop us from fighting several yokai in our path, leveling up. In my first playthrough of this game 10 years ago, the coming boss was the first one to give me a game over, so my paranoia for this fight was through the roof. That didn't stop me from taking on a powerful bird librarian who nearly killed Baku, but nearly dead is still technically alive, and technically alive means that enough bubblegum will fix him up just fine. We befriend a local pufferfish who we name Puff, and then begin the battle against Massive Face, a name so intimidating that I can't help but tremble. Despite my worries for this fight, the battle goes rather smoothly. In fact, I managed to cancel a Sultimate attack I was dreading and beat him without a single casualty. This boosts my hubris into unhealthy territories, but I'm sure that won't lead to any gross miscalculations down the line, right? In Part 8 of this Yokai Watch Nuzlocke, I start by heading north in an attempt to recruit some high-ranking yokai. This act of overconfidence is immediately punished when Jibanyan is attacked twice in quick succession, killing him almost instantly. Soon after, a shark begins charging a Sultimate, and before I can get bodied by that, I use an escape doll to get the Infinite Inferno out. Humbled by the loss of my team's mascot, I go into panic mode and begin doing side quests to calm my nerves and procrastinate the next challenge. I complete enough side quests to evolve my swole boy into a buff man, and to turn deep into beep beep. This boost gives me the courage to continue on in the story. Eddie and I explore the museum, but Eddie isn't satisfied with that. He insists that we break into the area, and I once again succumb to peer pressure. Desperate to impress my smart friend, I find a yokai capable of teleportation to help us on this quest. With this newfound power, we will be able to get around Springdale slightly more conveniently, and more importantly, get past museum security. While looking for a way to break into the museum's vault, I recruit a yokai I name Cyborg. A B3NK1 I've never actually used, but always thought was cool. We make our way into the bank's vault and find a magic suit of armor that suddenly springs to life. Unfortunately, it tries to kill us instead of joining our team, so we are forced to battle. We manage to slay the mouse inside of the armor, and Eddie leaves unimpressed. While the mission of impressing our friend was technically a failure, the fact that Cyborg joined us is more than enough to make me happy. Part 9 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke has us visiting the summer festival with our friends, and we are once again peer pressured into breaking into a place we aren't supposed to be. This time our haunted school. But with rumors of specters infesting our town, they'll need to be eliminated eventually if I'm to become the ultimate master of Springdale. And so my friends and I sneak in, where we are immediately separated by magical powers. I work my way through the school, wiping out any foes who stand in my way, and even recruiting a skeleton lady who I name Skull, and one of my favorite yokai, Frostina, who I name Blizz. Eventually I find the one responsible for kidnapping my friends, a giant spider who is one of the few bosses from Yokai Watch 1 that has never come back in a future Yokai Watch game in any form. The spider excels in inspiriting our team, which means I constantly have to switch my team around. Luckily, with a team now consisting of Best Boy, Cyborg, Buff, Puff, Buzz, and Baku, we have a formidable team capable of helping us reclaim our town. We are able to defend our school without losing a single soldier, and are rewarded by sitting on the school's roof while watching fireworks. A moment of celebration well earned. Part 10 of this Yokai Watch Nuzlocke has us trying to befriend a magical dragon who hungers for sawtoothed stags. This side quest is one of the most time-consuming parts of the game, and perhaps my only complaint in all of the series. We search dozens of trees, finding and losing several sawtoothed stags, while simultaneously catching many rhino beetles, which are just as rare and hard to get, but completely useless to dragging. Eventually I manage to enslave one of the bugs, and quickly feed it to my new pet dragon. I name him Akshu, and I switch up my team composition, then head into the final area of Springdale that is still being haunted, the abandoned hospital. We go through an exam led by Simone's, and while the correct answers are usually very easy to pick, with the text being in Japanese, I actually mess up once and have to execute a few Cyclops monsters. I also befriend a new crucial member for our team, a Komiger I named Tigger. I also evolve Komasan, renaming him Lion, and introducing our new tag team. These two have abilities that boost each other's stats while next to each other, and we promote them to be the new captains of our team. We then head into the boss fight against the Mad Doctor. This battle can be challenging if you don't pop every heart bubble that appears, and doing that while simultaneously keeping our party battle ready requires some concentration. Luckily, I managed to pull out the win, clearing out our town with an army ready for war. As if on cue, Akshu lets us know that McCracken is beginning his invasion on our town. Part 11 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke has us heading into the yokai world, where we are attacked and then simultaneously joined by Venoth, our first and only S-rank yokai for this run. We name him Venom and begin our trek through the yokai world. At the first gate, we are judged on our strength of character based on how many quests we've completed. Since I've been doing lots of those, we are able to make it through that gate easily. The second gate is guarded by a 50-50 that I squander. I fall into the depths of the yokai world, but claw my way back to the top, ready to face the final gate. The third gate tests how many foes we've slain. We pass the Oni of Death's trial with flying colors, allowing us to face the boss McCracken. The battle rages, and we come out on top. However, McCracken retreats, fleeing, beginning his invasion. Our final battle approaches, and we are ready to prove that we are the rightful ghost overlords of Springdale. Part 12 of our Yokai Watch Nuzlocke has us blasting through enemies, fighting for McCracken. We continue to drive back his forces, using the power of friends we've made along the way to drive them back, in every encounter. Despite a few close calls, we managed to get through without losing a single member of our army. All that's left is the final battle, a challenge we've been building up to for a long, long time. We haven't lost any yokai to a boss yet, and I don't plan on starting now. After grabbing thousands of dollars worth of hamburgers, we head to the tree, fighting the Kraken in the final showdown. The first stage of our battle goes well, but when Phase 2 starts, well, I was originally going to just commentate over this, but I think it would be more fun to just let you watch and see how this plays out. I pull out one last win, defeating the Kraken and proving once and for all that I am the Supreme Ghost Lord. Whisper desperately tries to stop me from my ultimate mastery by sealing himself and all other yokai into the yokai world, but we both know that it won't last. After all, I have won. This run was ultimately very fun, giving me an excuse to replay one of my favorite games again. I had to change up my playstyle a fair bit from what I normally would do, which was a lot of fun, but otherwise this wasn't too much of an added challenge. If someone really wanted to make this into a challenge, my first step would be banning healing items during battle. I think that would definitely do it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Until next time, farewell.